Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's Monday, week 11. Time to make some win-loss picks for every game. But before we do that, we take a look at week 10 and all of my picks, where I was right, where I was wrong. And sadly, this week was not impressive yet again. As of this recording, I am 7-6 on the week, and we are taking Philadelphia to win tonight. I do think they'll beat the Packers. Hopefully, I'm correct. I'll go 8-6. But if I'm wrong, I'll be 7-7, not good at all. So let's run through these picks once again, but let's frame it with y'all's picks. Y'all answer polls every week, and this week you do have a better record than I do yet again. Y'all go 9-4, and there are only two games that we disagreed on. On Thursday, as expected, the Broncos did win, but they didn't cover. We thought it would be a more dominant performance. It was actually pretty close. The Broncos offense played like shit, but they got the win. That's all that matters. We were both correct on Denver over Las Vegas. But where we disagreed was in the Berlin game. I took the Falcons, y'all took Indianapolis, and that game did go into overtime. It was much closer than the poll would have suggested, but ultimately the best player on the field was Jonathan Taylor, and he did seal the win. Sadly, I was incorrect on this one. I was so close though. Once it went into overtime, I had a feeling Taylor would seal it. They got the ball to start, but the Falcons couldn't do anything with it. I didn't understand why they leaned so heavy on Tyler Algier. I know he played well, but they have Bijan Robinson. That's who you should have gone to just smother the Colts defense in the fourth quarter and overtime. But for whatever reason, Raheem Morris makes strange decisions. I am fed up with the Falcons, but for whatever reason, I just can't quit them. They are an entertaining team despite having a very bad record. I still like to watch Falcons games, but I was wrong. The Colts won. Good for Indianapolis. I thought they'd lose, and it did not happen. So y'all do pick up a game with the Indy selection, but we agreed on Chicago. That game was very close. Honestly, almost an upset. If Jackson Dart didn't have a concussion, maybe that offense would have scored more points, but with Russell Wilson, it did not, and the Bears did claw their way back. The Bears got the win. Impressive come from behind victory by Caleb Williams in the bad weather. I liked what I'm seeing from Chicago. Their team is looking pretty legit this season. In New York, though, we agreed on Cleveland. I picked the Browns before the trade deadline, and y'all did side with them after the trade deadline. So did Vegas. The line favored Cleveland, but they didn't show up. Maybe the Jets are somewhat legit. I believed in them. I picked them to beat the Bengals, but it was mainly because I didn't trust the Bengals defense. Now I have to actually give some credit to the Jets offense. But against the Browns, it's not that impressive ultimately. The Browns suck, and the Jets are still one of the worst teams in the league. But a 2-game win streak, impressive for the New York Jets. In Miami, a shocking victory by the Dolphins. Nobody predicted this. Only 8% of the poll was on Miami, and there was no way in hell I was ever predicting Buffalo to lose against the Dolphins this time last week. So I was never destined to get this right. Neither were y'all. We'll take our lumps. The Bills are not impressive this season. There are very few wins that you can look to and say, yeah, that's a great team, just as good as last year. They are really kind of wasting some of these years of Josh Allen's prime. I don't trust the Bills at all this season. In Minnesota, the Ravens took care of business as expected with their back against the wall. They know they have no room for error, and they showed up. JJ McCarthy is not even close to being as good as Lamar Jackson. So that one we all agreed on. That one did work out correctly. The Ravens did win. However, a quarter of you, shockingly, did take the Vikings. In Carolina, though, this one was a big surprise. The Panthers can beat the Packers, but they can't beat the Saints. What the fuck? Carolina. This made no sense, but maybe just division games are just that weird. Tyler Shuck did play somewhat legit. We thought with the trade of Shaheed, their offense would be brutal, but no, Olave and Juwan Johnson actually look somewhat competent, but Rico Dowdle did not save the day. The Panthers offense, very inconsistent overall. But in Washington, this poll result wasn't close, and as expected, we were in agreement. The Lions did win, so that one was obvious as expected. But then in Tampa Bay, a pretty close call. One of the closer polls this week, 60-40 in favor of Tampa, and I agreed. I also took the Bucks, and we were most of us were wrong. The Patriots did win pretty convincingly. Now that Travion Henderson got going, the Pats offense is pretty scary. So Drake May is legit. The Pats are the 1 seed, and their record is going to be hard to beat. They have a very easy schedule going forward, and they're beating the good teams. They beat the Bills and the Bucks now. There aren't that many teams remaining on their schedule that can beat them. They have another Bills matchup, another Ravens matchup, but otherwise it is hard to predict some L's for the Pats. So they could be the 1 seed this year, definitely possible. Wouldn't be shocked if it happened. And honestly, I was a bit surprised that the Bucks off a bye did lose, but Baker didn't have the answers. Good for New England getting the win. Y'all did not see this one coming either. Y'all mostly took Tampa, but this one was very close to being a tie. Y'all did take Houston. I was in agreement. I was siding with the Texans all week long, and one of my best calls on the week was that Davis Mills was the best streaming quarterback off the waiver wire this week. So I was right. The Jags defense fucking sucks, and even in a comeback victory, the Texans found a way. Parker Washington's special teams touchdown made this one close, but ultimately the Texans were the much better team, did get the job done, even without CJ Stroud. So that one worked out. The Texans got the job done. We were both right there. And then, as expected, overwhelmingly, the Seahawks won over Arizona. They were up 35-0 in the second quarter. Seahawks were a great pick, not just to win, but also to cover the spread. I was right on this game. So were y'all, and we were both also right on the Rams-Niners game. The Rams cruised to victory, and although the Niners kind of came back for a brief amount of time, it was never really in question. The Rams sealed it. They won overwhelmingly. So Rams, really interesting game next week between the Seahawks in division. That's going to be a very close race. And then sadly, the only other game we disagreed on was this Chargers-Steelers game where I was incorrect. But if I'm going to be wrong about any game, this one is one I'm not upset to be wrong about. The Chargers are my team, but I've witnessed a lot of losses at SoFi over the last 2 years, and I didn't believe they would get the job done. I'm happy they proved me wrong. Reluctant to fully believe that the Chargers are legit. I wish their tackles were healthy, but an impressive win. Their defense really shut down the Steelers offense. So good team win. Like what I'm seeing from LA. I'm happy I was wrong on that one. But because I got that one wrong, y'all do pick up a game, and that is 2 overall on the week. The Colts pick and the Chargers pick were right. I took the Falcons and Steelers. I was wrong. So y'all go 9-4, I go 7-6, and tonight we are both in agreement. I am taking Philadelphia, and so are you, which means on the year, y'all will pick up yet another 2 games correct, and that means I am now 7 back on the season. There's still 8 weeks left, so if I'm correct, an average of just 1 game more than y'all every single week, then I will have a better record, but I need to crawl my way back. There was a time back in week 4 when I was also 7 games back as well. I closed the gap to within 1 game, and then since then I never took the lead. I've given it up, and y'all have been much more accurate than I have the last couple weeks. But I'm 88-59-1. Y'all are 95-49-4. So I'm starting to fall back, but the season is not over. We still have about half the year, just less, remaining. I didn't have an impressive week against the spread, though. I maintain a 500 pace, and if not for week 3, I've been 500 on average every other week. But week 3 was just so bad. I went 0-6 in week 3. I'm still 6 games behind 500. I cannot find a way to crawl my way back. So the 3 incorrect were Tampa to cover. The Bucks won straight up, so Tampa didn't even come close to that. The Browns, I picked as underdogs. The line favored them by the end of the week, but they were never the side to take. The Jets won by a touchdown, so that one wasn't even close. And then I also sided with Pittsburgh +3. I like Tomlin as an underdog in primetime. It did not work out, though. The Chargers won comfortably. That game was never close against Pittsburgh. So those 3 were incorrect. I was correct, though, on 2 big blowouts. I took the Rams to cover. I got them at -3.5. The line ended up going to -5.5, but they were always the right side to take. And then the Seahawks -7. I told you they'd win by at least 2 touchdowns. That was always a no-brainer. But thankfully, the line got easier as the week went along. I originally took the Falcons +5.5, but by Saturday, it was +6.5. And thanks to overtime where you don't kick a PAT, I did cover by the skin of my teeth. So that half point was critical, and thankfully overtime did save my ass. But the Falcons, Rams, and Seahawks did cover. Those are my 3 correct. So 3-3 on the week, another 500 pace. That puts me at 27-33 overall against the spread. Still below 500 by 6 picks. But that's it for the recap. Let's move on to this week's slate of games, what I think will happen in Week 11. On Thursday, we have a no-brainer game. The Patriots are hosting the Jets, and although the Jets' offense has looked good the last 2 games, I do not trust their defense. I definitely trust Mike Vrabel and the Patriots to do their job, and especially against bad teams like this, get those easy wins, just rack up dubs on the record. So this is a no-brainer pick. The Patriots will cruise. Sometimes the Jets step up in division on the road here against New England, but I feel like this rivalry doesn't carry the same weight as it once did. But maybe the Jets continue to wake up and continue to shock us. I'm not going to bet on that, though. This is a no-brainer straight up. Give me the Patriots over the Jets. That one was an obvious pick all along. In Madrid, though, in Spain, the Dolphins are traveling to host the Commanders. This will be an interesting matchup. If you told me Jaden Daniels was healthy and the Commanders' record wasn't so bad, then I wouldn't believe that Washington has given up. But they've looked so bad the last few weeks, they're really not competitive at all. And the Dolphins have not given up, despite a lot of reasons, to quit on their head coach. But they're starting to play well. They shocked the Falcons a few weeks ago with a blowout win. They also just shocked the Bills, and I don't think they are quitting on their season. I do think they're going to try to win as much as possible. I can't say the same about Washington, who have a very aging veteran roster. I don't think anyone can cover Jalen Waddle, who's playing really well right now. Devon Achane is going to play lights out as well. The Commanders' defense fucking sucks. So I trust Miami. I think with a bye right after this game, the Commanders might just check out. Meanwhile, the Dolphins might be encouraged enough to keep going. So I will take the Dolphins. They know they can win. After that Bills game, they got some confidence. So give me the Dolphins here. I still like some of their pieces on offense, and I just don't feel confident, especially without Terry McLaurin or Jaden Daniels in the Commanders' offense. Their run game is pretty brutal, and Mariota is just not good enough. Give me the Dolphins to get the win in Madrid. In Atlanta, surprising decision by the Falcons here not to take the bye after the Germany game. So they come home. Maybe rust is going to be a factor. They may be a bit tired for this matchup, but I think they'll be motivated to play well. They got completely demolished last time around against Carolina. They were completely shut out. They lost 30-0 against the Panthers last time around. That game was in Carolina. And last time we saw Carolina, they just lost to the New Orleans Saints, not an impressive team either. And Atlanta is just a hard team to predict. Sometimes they play really well. They beat the Bills and looked fucking dominant in that game. But otherwise, they've lost most games and are really struggling to move the ball. I don't know what they're doing on offense. The play calling is really random at times, and it doesn't make sense why they would fade Bijan for Algier. But in this matchup, I think they will get some revenge. I don't think they get swept by the Panthers. Neither team, I think, is a playoff team. However, I think both of them are going to finish with a very similar 7-10, 8-9 record. And at the moment, for that to balance out, the Panthers need to drop one, and the Falcons need to pick up one. So I'll take Atlanta. I could see it blowing up in my face again. Almost every time I pick Atlanta, it is incorrect. But at home, I think they play better than on the road, and I will take Michael Penix just barely over Bryce Young. You could tell me that Rico Dowdle totally torches them and is the key piece in this game, but I'm going to assume that Bijan does step up, and I do think London is the best receiver in this matchup as well. The Falcons, I think, have a better roster, and in division, I do not think they're getting swept by the Panthers. So I'm reluctant to fully buy in, but I've been wrong so many times. Let's just stick with them. I just can't quit the Falcons for whatever reason. They always let me down. I'm willing to get hurt again. Give me Atlanta over Carolina. The Falcons will even the series and get the win over the Panthers. In Buffalo, the Bills are hosting Tampa Bay in a very interesting, compelling game in the morning window. Two great quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield against Josh Allen. But if you've been watching the Bills, I can't see why you're really like a believer in their defense. They're not been impressive. And even against the Chiefs, it kind of doesn't mean that much this season. The Chiefs have lost 4 games. The Chiefs are pretty beatable. So just because the Bills did beat them again in their home stadium, they didn't bounce back. They lost really embarrassingly to the Dolphins. And last time they lost in division to the Patriots, they did not bounce back against an NFC South team. They lost the week after to Atlanta. And I could see the Bucs off the bye having prepared a little extra for this game. Maybe they focused a bit too much on Josh Allen instead of Drake May and lost to the Patriots because of it. So on the road, the Bucs will not have much of a room for error here. I could see Allen go Superman, but because that's always a possibility, I think the Bills defense kind of overestimates how many points they can give up and still get the win. And I don't think they'll step up early on enough against Egbuka or Rachaad White. So last week, Rachaad White was kind of a non-factor. The Patriots' run defense is really good. Meanwhile, the Bills' run defense is pretty bad this season, and I think there's enough factors in favor of Tampa right now. I still believe in the Bucs being a very legit playoff team that can beat just about anyone. So I'll pick them this week. And even if they're trailing, I kind of believe more in Baker at the moment to come back and get a come from behind win as opposed to Josh Allen. When the Bills have been trailing, Allen has looked flustered. I don't believe in the Bills as much as I did last year. I'm going to take Tampa Bay, and off the loss for both teams, give me Tampa with the win over the Bills in Buffalo. A close game, but I'll take Baker over Josh Allen. In Tennessee, off the bye, it might be tempting for some to assume, oh, the Titans are so bad this season, they're hungry for a win. The Texans will take them for granted. It's a trap game waiting to happen. Off the bye, the Titans might fix their mistakes, but I'm not a believer. I don't trust their coaching, and I ultimately don't trust their personnel. I think their best player on offense is actually Tyjae Spears, and he's only there like half the time. They still commit to Tony Pollard a decent amount, so I don't trust their offense very much. The Texans' defense is one of the best in the league, and the Texans beat the Titans 26-0 last time around, but they did keep it close up until the fourth quarter. The score was like 6-0 for a while, and the Titans had a chance, but then just completely shit the bed at the end of the game. So I've seen the Titans find many random ways to lose. The only time they won was when the Cardinals just gifted them a victory, and I don't expect the Texans to be that reckless and have that much hubris. The Texans are still a bit desperate. They lost way too many games early in the year, and I expect them to get the job done against Tennessee. Their defense is too good, and I assume CJ Stroud will return to the lineup. But even if he does, Davis Mills proved he can win in division. Just like last week, even with Davis Mills, the Texans can win, and they will. But I think Stroud will be the guy. I think they'll win more convincingly. Give me the Texans over the Titans, even on the road. In Tennessee, give me Houston over the Titans. In Minnesota, the Vikings are hosting Chicago, and first game of the year was a bit of an upset. J.J. McCarthy did win in week 1, but the Bears have looked way more consistent since then. Their defense isn't impressive, but their offense has been very reliable. This game is in Minnesota. The Vikings have a legit home field advantage, and I could see Chicago still find a way, even if they're trailing in the fourth quarter. The Bears have been winning by any means necessary, and although their defense kind of sucks, Caleb looks legit. Caleb is a quarterback I'm starting to trust. I cannot say the same for McCarthy. So I could see Justin Jefferson totally torch them. I could see Aaron Jones go off as well. Aaron Jones typically plays very well against the Chicago Bears, but I could also see Rome Odunze and DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift and Colston Loveland just power their way back, and the Bears kind of feel like a team of destiny this season. So much better than last year. They're winning all the close games, and I don't think they get swept. If the Vikings ever trail in this game, they're not going to come back. They need to start off hot and keep the lead. I do not feel willing to bet on that happening. So give me Chicago, a tight division, very competitive. I will take the Bears. They've been playing better than the Vikings, and I expect them to step up on offense. They will not get swept. They will split the series with Minnesota. A win for Chicago at the Vikings on the road. In New York, the Giants just fired Brian Daboll, and then Jackson Dart is in the concussion protocol. They're without their head coach and starting quarterback. So Russell Wilson against Green Bay, not going to bet on him at all. They have no run game, and the Packers have one of the best run defenses. I don't think they beat the Eagles, but if they do, then they'll definitely have the confidence to step up against the Giants. But the Packers are pretty inconsistent. They've lost to some bad teams this year. The Browns beat them. The Panthers beat them. Even the Cowboys did have a tie against them. It's a young team. They're finding their groove, and the Giants are just really bad on defense. I don't think they can stop them. With Russell Wilson, I've seen no reason to trust the Giants offense. So I am 100% taking Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, and the Packers. Maybe if Dart was the quarterback, it'd be closer. With Russell Wilson, it's not even close. Give me the Green Bay Packers over the Giants. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers are hosting Cincinnati, and the Steelers are narrowly atop this division by just one game over the Ravens. So they need every win they can get, especially in division. They got beaten by the Bengals last time around, but that game was Mike Tomlin's kryptonite. He cannot win on Thursday, especially on the road in division. So a perfect storm. There wasn't as much tape on Flacco back at that time. In Cincinnati, he's been getting a bit banged up, but off the bye, maybe they do play better. But their defense still sucks. They almost lost to the Steelers in that first one. The Steelers did come roaring back, but if not for T. Higgins' slide, I could have seen them score too quickly and Aaron Rodgers still find a way with like 30 seconds to get a last-minute field goal. So the Bengals defense, I just don't trust. They lost to the Jets last time we saw them, and even off the bye, I don't expect them to fix those problems. The Steelers are a bit desperate for a win, and last time they played at home, they did beat Indianapolis with 6 turnovers. So I am going to pick them. I'm assuming Flacco is still the starter. I don't think Burrow will come back yet, but Pittsburgh can step up on defense. They've done it before. And on Sunday, they usually play much, much better than on Thursday. So not going to get swept. The Bengals defense is just that bad. I will take the Steelers to get the win over Cincinnati. A loss would be so punitive, they'd have no shot at the division if they lost the second in a row to the Bengals. So critical victory means a lot. Give me Pittsburgh over Cincinnati. In Jacksonville, a game that I think is meaningful to Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. Herbert lost after having a lead 27-7 at halftime against the Jags. They lost 31-30. So that loss still looms over Herbert's reputation. And after the loss to the Texans last year, I know this game would be valuable for the Chargers to get. So I do not trust the Jags defense right now. They just lost to the Texans and Davis Mills after leading big time. Their secondary is dog shit. And then they also almost lost to the Raiders. If not for a batted pass in overtime, that 2-point conversion was wide open. Bowers would have caught it and they would have lost to the Raiders as well. So a very close call there. The Jaguars defense feels like it's gotten kind of lucky this season. A lot of go either way plays have gone in their favor. And against the Chargers, I just don't think their luck will continue. It's going to run out. The Chargers have a much better overall roster. And if the defense is firing on all cylinders like it was last week and the week before, and the Chargers will cruise to victory. I do not see the Jags secondary stopping those receivers. Ladd's going to have a great day. Keenan, I think, will play pretty well. And even Quentin Johnston will torch them. They might be without Oronde Gadsden, who went down last week, but if he comes back, that's just another piece that's too hard to stop. Chargers will cruise. Their passing game is going to be too dominant. Give me the Chargers over Jacksonville. The Chargers, I think, are a lock at this point to be a playoff team. Last week's Steelers win, I think, sealed it. This one will put them in the clear favorite category for the playoffs. They're going to be 8-3 entering the bye if they get this win. I think they will. I trust LA. The Chargers beat the Jaguars. In LA, the Rams are hosting Seattle in possibly the game of the week. This will be a very entertaining, really fun matchup, and I could see it going either way. Love what I'm seeing from the Seahawks defense and offense. They are torching their opponents, and they have some really good speed. Down the field, those deep shots are hitting. But the Rams have one of the most complete rosters in the NFL, a great team. And last year, they did sweep Seattle to clinch the division. The Seahawks interested in some revenge. I know Darnold wants revenge. Last time he played the Rams, he was embarrassed with the Vikings. He got sacked like 7 or 9 times. I think it was 9 sacks in that game. And maybe it happens again. The Seahawks offensive line isn't the best you could find. But the Rams might be without Devontae Adams. He went down a little early in last week's game. It sounded like he'll be okay, but still that's not an ideal scenario. And I could see the Rams defense being a weakness. It's been a weakness earlier in the year, and the Seahawks are just playing such complete overall football. It feels really hard to beat them. So I think this game means a lot to Seattle after getting swept last year and Darnold getting embarrassed. I think they want this win. And if you look at their road record this year, the Seattle Seahawks do not lose when they go on the road. Their 2 losses are at home. Otherwise, they're 4-0 on the road. I think it's going to be 5-0. I'm going to take Darnold and the Seahawks because back in the offseason, back in the summer, I picked Seattle to win the division. This is going to be one of the key games that decides it. I think they'll split the series, but the Seahawks are a bit more vulnerable at home recently than on the road, and I think they will lose the second game, but win this first one at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Give me the Seahawks on the road to remain undefeated. Give me Seattle to get the stranglehold on this division with a win at the Rams. A close game can go either way, but I'll take Seattle over the Rams. In Arizona, the Cardinals are hosting the Niners in division, and last time these two teams played, it was very, very close. A 1-point win, 16-15 in favor of the Niners. So this will be a very close game again. I think both teams are very evenly matched. Health factoring in on Arizona's defense, it could be a problem. Their secondary is very banged up. However, the addition of Walter Nolan, I think, will benefit them at stopping the run. And McCaffrey has looked a bit vulnerable over the last 2 weeks. He's not looking as effective as he did earlier in the year. So Arizona's run defense will be the key here. If their secondary is healthy, I could see it also factor in. And honestly, I think it'll be a very close game, just like the last time. Perhaps a 1-point game that can go either way. But this time around, the Cardinals' offense, I think, is a safer bet to make. I like what I'm seeing a lot more with Brissett as opposed to Kyler Murray. And they've officially benched Kyler. They put him on IR. It's not even a question. Brissett will be the guy, I think, all year. And I do trust that one of those field goals last time will turn into a touchdown because Trey McBride is really dominant now with Brissett in the red zone. So an extra 4 points will go a long way compared to last time. It could have been a coin flip game. It went to the Niners. This time, I think it goes to Arizona. Give me a upset here. I think the Arizona Cardinals will win at home over the Niners. 2 very evenly matched up teams. And I think the defense will step up for Arizona just enough. And the Niners don't have the answers. So give me Arizona. The home field advantage is the tiebreaker. A go either way game in division. Give me Arizona. But in Cleveland, the Browns are hosting Baltimore, and other than the Patriots-Jets game, this is the most obvious pick of the week. The Ravens are still behind Pittsburgh in division, and they still have a must-win every single week. They will get the job done on the road at Cleveland. The Browns are not that good. They just lost to the Jets. They are 100% losing to the Ravens. So no-brainer. Lamar is going to cruise to victory. This one is automatic. Probably the most obvious pick of the week. And then in Denver, a very interesting divisional game between the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Chiefs had all the black magic going in their favor last year. They could not lose. And this year, it looks like the Broncos have figured it out and gotten that good luck charm instead. The Chiefs are losing those close games. The Broncos can't lose them. And the Broncos have a legit rest window here to prepare, just like Kansas City. The Chiefs are coming off a bye, but the Broncos played on Thursday and have some extra rest as well. So I think that advantage kind of gets negated for the Chiefs. They're also going on the road. That's not easy. The Broncos have been unbeatable at home this year. So I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's very easy to see the Broncos look like shit on Thursday and think, oh, the Chiefs are an automatic win. But I don't know what's the case with their run game. If Pacheco doesn't play, I do not trust Kareem Hunt to be anything better than a short yardage back. And Brashard Smith was a non-factor against Buffalo. They don't trust him yet. So Pacheco is actually pretty critical for their offense. And because of his injury, I don't know if he'll play at all. If you tell me he's out, Mahomes is going to have to lead the team in rushing, and whenever that's the case, they are much more likely to lose this season, as opposed to games when they have a more balanced pass and run game. So I don't like that for Kansas City whatsoever. Their offensive line has also been banged up. Josh Simmons has missed some time. He might not be back yet. If he comes back and so does their right guard Trey Smith, then that's going to be much better, but still the Broncos have an elite pass rush. I could still see Mahomes really struggle with time in the pocket. So that's the weakness of the Chiefs. If you can rush the passer, they really struggle. And with no run game, I have some hard predictions here to favor the Chiefs. It's going to come down to whether or not Pat Surtain plays, because if he does, Rashee Rice will be a non-factor, and that's just too many red flags for the Chiefs. So it feels strange. It seems like a lock that they'll be a playoff team, but they're 5-4. They can definitely lose, and the Broncos are just finding a way to win no matter what. So I think most teams will just assume after watching the Broncos that they're not a legit team, but I've seen enough from them at times. They've beaten some good teams, like that Eagles game is really impressive. The Texans win was also impressive. I am going to take Denver here. The last time they lost to the Chiefs, it was on a blocked field goal, and that shit is not going in favor of the Chiefs this season. Give me Denver with the win. A close, gritty game, really ugly matchup. Neither offense, I think, looks good, but I'm going to take Denver to find a way. In the fourth quarter, Bo Nix wakes up, and a come-from-behind victory is my prediction in favor of the Broncos. Give me Denver over the Chiefs. The Chiefs fall to 5-5. They're in risk of missing the playoffs. Fuck the Chiefs. Let's go Broncos in Denver. In Philadelphia, this I think is the game of the week. The Eagles host the Lions, and this was the matchup we wanted last year in the NFC Championship game that we just did not get. And thankfully, the schedule makers give it to us this season. But the Lions are not as good this year as they were last season. That's why Dan Campbell took over the play calling. He never did that with Ben Johnson, and mid-season he took that away from John Morton. So I could see Dan Gamble going for it on fourth down here when it's kind of unnecessary. And I'm going to stick with some of my preseason predictions that the Eagles are at least better than the Lions. I assume the Lions will still make the playoffs. I think I was wrong about that because the Falcons are not legit. But the Eagles I still think are better than Detroit. They still have that championship pedigree. But what the Eagles did on the defensive line over the trade deadline, I think really puts the advantage in their favor. On top of that, they get Nolan Smith back, and tonight I think we're going to see that it's going to be really hard to run on the Eagles like it was last year. It's been a bit easier this season, but Jalen Carter has been a bit injured at times, and then Nolan Smith being inactive, plus the addition of Jalen Phillips, they can rush the passer, they can stop the run, they have the better defensive line. Overall, I think they also have the better and more healthy offensive line. So if that's your advantage, odds are you're the better team. I'm going to take the Eagles, especially at home. I think they'll get the job done. But a very close game could go either way, a coin flip matchup here. But I'll trust Jalen Hurts at home more than Jared Goff on the road. In Las Vegas, the last game of the week is between the Raiders and Cowboys, and both teams get extra rest here. The Cowboys had a bye week, so straight up just a lot of extra prep time. And last time we saw them was also on Monday night. They got embarrassed by the Cardinals. So a lot of motivation to play well. Meanwhile, the Raiders almost beat the Broncos on Thursday night. Their defense actually stepped up. So maybe it can play well, but if anything, I just think the Broncos offense laid an egg, not that the Raiders defense is that good. But we all know that the Cowboys defense is so bad that they can lose to anyone, doesn't matter who it is. So I've seen the Cowboys look really unimpressive, and I could see it happen again, but because they got so embarrassed last time we saw them and their offense is so good at times, I just don't trust the Raiders defense enough to shut down Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. So maybe Ashton Genty has the game of his life. Bowers, I think, will go off in this game, but I just do not trust the Raiders enough. Give me Dak Prescott over Geno Smith any day of the week. Give me the Cowboys to get the win at Las Vegas. So those are my win-loss picks this week. We do have the Colts and Saints on bye, but among the 15 games, these are the teams I think will win. The Patriots definitely beat the Jets. That's a no-brainer at home on Thursday night. In Madrid, I think the Commanders have quit. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have some confidence. They just beat the Bills. The Dolphins will win in Madrid, Spain. In Atlanta, I don't think the Falcons are going to get swept by the Panthers. They got embarrassed in a shutout last time they played them, but in division, I think they will bounce back. In Buffalo, I'm calling upset. I've seen the Bills be very uninspired, and I don't think they wake up enough after the Dolphins loss. I think they continue to lose. Their second two-game losing streak, the Bucs, will beat Josh Allen in Buffalo. In Tennessee, off the bye, doesn't matter. The Texans defense is way better, and CJ Stroud will beat Cam Ward. In Minnesota, the Vikings are not going to sweep Chicago. The Bears offense has looked way better since week 1, and they will not cough it up. Caleb Williams gets the win over J.J. McCarthy second time around. In New York, with no Jackson Dart and no Brian Dable, Russell Wilson not going to stand a chance. The Green Bay Packers defense will get the win at New York, but their offense probably doesn't play as well as we would expect. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers are not getting swept. They will beat Cincinnati. The Bengals defense is just dog shit, so the Steelers at home get the win. And then in Jacksonville, the Chargers are not going to cough this game up. The Jaguars secondary is just that bad. So Herbert dominates, the Chargers win in Jacksonville. And then in LA, the Rams are hosting Seattle, but the Seahawks remain undefeated on the road. In division, the Seahawks take a stranglehold. In Arizona, the Cardinals get some revenge. They do not get swept by San Francisco with Brissett at home. That's the missing piece. They win a close one over the Niners. In Cleveland, the Browns have no shot at all. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will get another win. In Denver, an upset is waiting to happen, and the Broncos defense is that elite. They'll keep winning by any means necessary. The Broncos get the win over the Chiefs. In Philadelphia on Sunday night, give me the Eagles over the Lions, a better roster in Philly. Last game of the week, though, is Las Vegas. They will lose to the Cowboys. The Cowboys will bounce back after getting embarrassed last Monday against Arizona. So those are my win-loss picks. The Colts and Saints are on bye, but all 15 teams, I am mostly siding with a lot of road teams. I like a lot of underdogs this week. And speaking of underdogs, these are my picks against the spread. I'm rolling with 5 underdogs, 1 favorite, and my favorite is my favorite team in the league. The only team I think will cover that is expected to win is the Chargers. Minus 2.5 is definitely achievable. Less than a field goal, I expect them to win straight up, and that should be a good path for success as a correct pick against the spread. Minus 2.5 should work out for me. I hope so, but they have failed to cover in spots. I thought they were locks, so hopefully that works out, but I think Herbert gets some revenge. They are not going to cough up the lead like they once did against the Jaguars. On the road, the Chargers will win by at least 3 points. In LA, though, the Seahawks are undefeated on the road, and I think in division, this game means so much to them. They will get the job done. They get some revenge after last year's sweep. They beat the Rams straight up, but at least it's a close game and plus 2.5. Give me Seattle over the Rams. In Arizona, I expect the Cardinals to win straight up, so getting 3 points, that's a side I like a lot. I love this underdog pick. However, even if they lose, last time they lost to the Niners, it was only by 1 point. On the road with Kyler, they lost by 1. I think at home with Brissett, they've looked much better. They will win. I think plus 3 should be a push at the very worst. In Minnesota, though, I'm taking the Bears to win straight up, and they're getting points, so give me another underdog here. I think the line should be more in favor of Chicago, but the Vikings have played well in division. Maybe they're just so familiar with Chicago. They do sweep them. It has been kind of impressive when the Vikings win. It's a complete team victory. Their defense could step up. The Bears' defense is still hard to trust, but give me Chicago. I like their offense more, so getting 3 points, let's bet on them. And then in Denver, I'm calling upset, but if it's a loss for the Broncos, it'll be within 3 points. It'll be a field goal game for sure, so that extra half point is so critical. Definitely a clutch half point. I'll take Denver plus 3.5. I think they can win straight up, not just cover. But lastly, I also took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win straight up, not just cover, and they're getting 5.5 points. So I think this game will be close. I think the Bucs defense is more impressive. The Bills have not woken up yet, and they can definitely lose to about anyone. So they're a wild card team this season. I do not trust them. The Bucs, I think, will still win the division, and I trust them to bounce back after the Patriots loss. I think they'll take care of business. Meanwhile, the Bills might not take their opponent as seriously as they should. So Bills defense doesn't show up. Give me Baker Mayfield plus 5.5 against Josh Allen. So only one favorite, the Chargers minus 2.5. Otherwise, 5 underdogs, not just to cover, but to win straight up. Give me the Seahawks plus 2.5, the Cardinals plus 3, the Bears plus 3, the Broncos plus 3.5, and lastly, Tampa Bay plus 5.5. Those are my picks in week 11. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'll see you next time. Hopefully I pick up some games. I went a bit heavy on upset this week, so either I pick up a lot of ground or I dig myself a deeper hole. Stay tuned this time next week to see what happens. Hopefully I can even the series with our records. Y'all have much better accuracy than I do. I'm hoping by the end of the year, it's at least closer than it is now. But that's it for me. My name's Adam Riancho. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.